Welcome, everyone. Going to be taking a look at the d20play RPG that I'm working on, and maybe do that D&D survey. I don't know if I'm up for that. We'll see how that goes. What is this d20play RPG? So I've been playtesting this a lot, and I want to have very fast character creation, get right into a game, get new players into the game right away, build a community, fast turns, quick action economy, tactical combat, though. I really enjoy tactical combat, so I want to make sure that's retained in the system. Roll to retain spellcasting. I like Shadowdark's roll to cast spellcasting. We're going to do roll to retain, see how that works. And then easily used with thousands of old school and new school products. I've been playtesting this with In Search of the Unknown, Keep on the Borderlands I did, and against the Giants. We played against the Giants. Played some of the new Dragon Delves even. So you can play with anything. I originally started out the monsters kind of balanced to the Shadowdark set, but playing against the Giants, I was seeing the compression there at the high end of the Shadowdark rules, where everything's compressed down to 10 level characters. I thought I need to expand that a little bit, so I updated to 12 levels of characters. And the Giant Adventures, we're going to go some giant monsters. We can look at those, see how we like those. I'm just going to take a roll through these rules, and if you have any questions, chime in the chat. Let me know what you want to see. Let's take a look. So, generating a character. I want to be able to create a character rapidly, and I have it all here on this one page, character creation. But before that, page. Hey, Kate. Oh, hey, Kate. Thanks. Mic was off. Mic was off. So let's set it up. Let me double check the mic settings. Looks to be working. Let me see here. How about now? Can you hear me, Kate? Thumbs up if you can hear me in the chat. Still. Oh, sounds good. IoT addict. All right. So, what is the d20play RPG? This is like for a person brand new to RPGs. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of this outline. Is it summary going to give them some reason to play? So what's an RPG? You and your friends playing characters, exploring mythical worlds, overcoming dire challenges, gaining riches, glory, and power. You play a character, play your character or PC in a fantasy world. You decide your PC's actions. You share them with your fellow players. One of the players is the GM. They describe the world around you, play all characters therein that do not have their own players. And together, you use the rules of the game to determine the outcome of your actions, with the GM creating challenges, adjudicating the rules, and describing the results. And your imagination is the limit on the challenges you can create. So you can have games where you go after the craziest goals, fighting dragons, fighting against demons, fighting against all sorts of evil, and overcoming those challenges as a group. Dice is covered here. Making checks. I am a big proponent of, I like the systems where you describe what you do, and if there's no time pressure, it works. If there's no like substantive risk of failure, I should add that. With the risk of failure, you roll d20. So when you attempt an action, including attacking against a spell, with a consequence of failure, you can always risk failing to the consequence from failure. You roll d20, add the associated stat and situation modifiers, and then see if you succeed or not. Turns, you have a move, you have an action on each of your turns. We're going to talk about reactions here. What do you guys think about reactions in the chat? Should a game have reactions? Shadowdark does not. I don't think, did original D&D have reactions? I don't think it did. Of course, newer D&D has reactions. A lot of games do nowadays. We'll talk about I think one little tweak that will make it work with no reactions and still really kind of show reality on the system. So move and action, nothing to slow down. Yeah, reactions, they creep in, they start slowing stuff down. Of course, you want your strong fighter to be able to protect, the weak people in the back, right? So the fighter wants to be able to stand in the front, and if anyone goes by him, take a reaction to kill him. Well, what should they do? They should go up front and ready an attack. And that way, whoever comes first is going to take the attack. That's kind of more like what real life is. If you're swinging on some guy on your right, some guy on your left runs by you, you're out of luck. They ran by you. So, and I don't think Shadow Dark has reactions built in, but I definitely play with reactions in Shadow Dark. And I think as long as you add reactions and maybe you explain the first time someone is disgruntled because they didn't take a reaction, or just explain, well, how would you protect someone from getting by you? You ready your attack instead of taking an attack. If you took an attack, hopefully you drop that guy, but someone else might run by. So that's my philosophy on that. If I'm not going to use them at all, which I think I might still not use them. Okay, your character sheet. Super simple character sheet here. If you go to the appendix, and if you maybe like what you see here, I like the rating attack. Yeah. If you like what you see, join our Discord. There's a link to it in the chat below. Just DM me, let me know you want to be part of the alpha, and I'll share the rules with you, and you can play the game. So character sheets, there are some character sheets here, blank one, and then pre-gens of level 1 of the 6 character classes. And with the setup of the character sheet, super compact. And with this like 3-panel layout, when you bring it up on a phone, it actually makes it fit the phone nicely, and you can read the whole sheet and then just scroll over to the next panel. And of course, Adam said, of course, got a second page too. But the idea is half a page is what it covers, and then the second half of the page we have notes. So you have stats, and I'm just using the modifiers. So a lot of games are going to modifiers, and really the 3 to 18 is kind of a holdover. It's a way to generate your stats, and then you don't use it much after that. So with some tweaks on how things affect your stats, I discovered that. And then a weird thing in the system is, since I got rid of that, and I'm just randomly generating those stats, I could make a bell curve with a d20 roll and generate it. But that trips a lot of players up. So I have to be careful how I describe how you do that. So when you're determining your starting stats, you roll the d20 once per stat, and you consult this table. And it's bell curved to be about the same distribution as a 3 to 18. But then you discard that d20 roll. You never use it again. It's not your stat. It's just something you use to generate your stat, which is the modifier over on the right there. Then you have arm class, hit points, speed, attacks, class, race, background, languages, gear, talents, and spells. Kind of taking a cue again from systems that had no skills, but I have a little bit of skills in there. I went and redid that. Escape, the speed of play, move, action, free interactions, next. Yeah. Oh god, it plays so fast. And that's what, I played Shadow Dark when it first came out. I'm like, holy crap, this is so fast. You combine 5th edition's way of doing a turn, where the turn is just boom, 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 as opposed to old D&D where you have to declare what you're doing, and then you roll initiative for the round, and then the sides go. There's a lot of like extra work there in the turn. And the 5th edition way of doing a turn, combined with just a move in an action economy, makes it go so fast. Little trivia: 5th edition did not have a bonus action when it was first drafted, and even if you get to like the rules in Dragonspear Castle, which had the first like preliminary 5th edition rules in it, no bonus action. So that, I think, really slowed the game down when they added that in. Okay, so there's a character sheet. There's the basics of what you're doing in the game, role-playing game. You're doing anything you want. That's the cool part about role-playing games, right? Okay, so character creation all on one page. You can grab a pre-gen and start playing right away. And there's some right there in the appendix. Character sheet and pre-gens. Or you can create a character super fast. You roll your stats at 60-20 rolls. You can just choose your class. Best to choose the class that has a stat at least +1 in it, or your highest stat. And I have 6 classes to start. I might add more, later. And yeah, loving the magic system. Same. I like the magic system. No opportunity attack and flanking. Become more fluid and tactical. Yeah, keep the flanking in, because now you got tactics that you're thinking about. That's so much fun as a player, right? You're looking, okay, well, where exactly am I going to move to? And also there's soft cover. So where exactly am I going to move to and not block the people from shooting into the battle, and not block the spellcasters from shooting in. So you have like real choices to make in combat, more than I'm going to move and attack, and you have no real idea where you're at. The characters do what their fantasy says they do next. Yeah. Okay, so fighter, thief, ranger, wizard, priest, bard. So 1 for each of the primary stats. And basically D&D, old D&D hit dice. So only 8 for a fighter. I did bump a thief up from 4 to 6. I guess maybe I have a soft spot for thieves. Ranger D8, wizard D4, priest D8, and bard D6. So you can roll your hit points. You're going to get talents from your class, like Shudder does, and also from your race, that you can bump these stats up to a maximum of +4. Roll or choose your race. So I just have 6 races, the old standbys. If you wanted to do something special, like a small creature, like a goblin or something like that, just use the halfling block and reskin it however you want. And if you want to do something bigger, I don't know, tabaxi or something like that, just use the human block and reskin it the way you want. Okay, then you pick your background, and I got 20 here, and I kind of redid the skills a little bit. So if you guys have played before, you'll see the skills are slightly changed. I did a grouping. I tried to compress them, but then I also at the same time got rid of crafting and made it skills. So you have things like building and crafting as skills you can choose, and artistry. We'll look at those in a second. And then you choose your gear and complete your character details and choose your spells. And there you got a character. Real fast, real easy to go that way. This art here is by, does he have his? Yeah, there it is, Dean Spencer, right there. Great artist. Definitely follow his Patreon if you want to add nice art to your work. Okay, so determine your stats. We talked about that. Roll 60-20. They're the old classic standby stats. +4 maximum. What do they affect? I'm only going with the positive modifiers affecting things. A negative stat's pretty painful, and you get -1, -2, -3 in your hit points or something like that, or your attack rolls. It's really punishing. It's already bad enough for or -1 or -2 on a stat. So just go with the modifiers. You'll see I do everything with 1 roll, 1 attack roll. So you can do 2-weapon fighting if you have high dexterity, and that just gives you more damage rather than making more attacks. And you can fight with a big weapon with 2 hands, and as long as your strength's high, that gives you more damage. So that's a trade-off versus using your offhand for your shield. All right, let's look at these classes. So I loved how classes were done in Shudderdark. And I took that, and then the first thing I was looking at was, if this was organized play, you couldn't just go with the rolls. You'd have to have like, I mean, you could, but if you wanted to have something for organized play, you could set it up such that you choose anything you want from the table, but you have minimum levels to make that choice. So I have that here, where you can do it either way. You can roll randomly on a table, or you can pick from the table as long as you meet the minimum level for what you're picking. And for a fighter, so fighters, I didn't like also in Shudderdark how fighters were only good with 1 weapon, and if they picked up a different weapon, they were really terrible. No modifier except whatever their strength was. And so I just changed Weapon Master to be everything. Give them grit, which is advantage on strength saves and might, and Holler to add more for their con. I like that idea. The old OD&D fighters where they're 18% strength could really carry a lot of stuff. And then your talents are, so you have +1 on stat, subject to your limits, +1 attack and damage to all weapons. Added to you're already getting +1 at first level, +1 more at second, and fourth, and sixth, etc. And then there's some things you can choose, like cleaving and pressing and precision and stout and topple. Increase your hit points a little bit, or to push people around the battlefield. I'm loving Draw Steel. Who's played Draw Steel in the chat? I love the way movement works, and it's so simple. You move, and whatever left movement you have left, you take the damage from it. You're forced into something. I'm going to definitely incorporate some stuff like that in this game. Okay, so that's the fighter. Then the thief is all about the backstab. They want to be hidden, and I worked a little bit on hiding here. And they want to, if they're not hidden, have a flank. And of course, flanking is the thing in this game. They're subtle, which gives them advantage on dex saves, agility, performance, observation, and stealth. They're sneaky. The way sneak works, and this is how it works in like Draw Steel and some other games, is if you're got total cover, total concealment, you're hidden. If you're quiet, you stay hidden. There's some caveats there. If you go and hide behind the only bush, they know you're behind the bush. If you hide around the corner, then you're going to come back around that corner. But if they didn't see you go into hiding, you're hidden if they don't see you. And Thieves going to add to that standard hiding that they can do it even with partial concealment. So if combat starts and they have allies in front of them, between them and the enemies, they are hidden on their first turn, which gives them advantage. They have a chance for a sniping attack with range. Or when they come out of that concealment, basically their whole first turn out of it, they're hidden. They still get an advantage of being hidden. They have that advantage still. And so Thieves are going to be able to do good sneak attack, first round from range or closing. Second round and on, they're going to probably want flanking because it's going to be harder and harder to get that hiding when people already know they're there and they're just ducking behind the cover, you know. So that's how Thieves work. They keep up pretty good with fighters as long as they're getting that backstab as far as damage output goes. And then, of course, they're good on all their other thieving skills and really good at sneaking. And they have, let's see, I got Infiltrate, Climb and Swim Speed. They're lucky. We'll talk about how luck works. Hamstring, tripping, all ideas of things they can get from their class. Ranger, and I love the way the Ranger's working. It might not be politically correct, of course. I went back to the old school Ranger. What made the Ranger, and why can they never get Ranger right anymore? It's because they're afraid to go back to what the Ranger was, and that was a damage dealer to giants and evil humanoids. And you know, you throw that back in there, and the Ranger doesn't hit as well as a fighter. They don't get all the bonuses. Yeah, backstab. You could backstab an attack from range, but you're not going to get the advantage very often. And attacking from range also has the added disadvantage of if there's any cover, you have disadvantage, so you don't get sneak attack. So round one, sniping, pretty easy, but round two and on, fighting is much easier. So you got to talk about that with your fighter friends and such. Someone needs to be your flanking buddy. They can't just leave after their attack, which is easy to do, but you want someone to stick around so you can flank them. Okay, back to Ranger though. Say the Defender. +2 damage, +2 per even level versus evil humanoids and giants. They won't hit as well as fighters, so they need to be sneaky about it and get advantage whenever they can, get flanked whenever they can, sneak around and do that sniping just the same way as a rogue does. I mean, it benefits a fighter to do the same thing, but fighter's much better at hitting than these two are. Now, you can just have a lot of damage versus these evil humanoids and these giants. But there's these herbalism, stolen right from Shadow Dark. I love how they did that. Where you can do Phobane, where you can add your defender to one more creature. So if you know you're going into a tomb or mausoleum, you could, before you go in, add that Phobane for undead. And now you have that extra damage on undead. It's one creature at a time, it's for an hour, and it's pretty hard to retain it. 15 con check when you use it. You automatically get it the first time, but you have to make the con check to determine if you can do it a second time or third time or fourth. Same way spells will work, you'll see. They have curative, so they can heal a little bit. Stimulant, grant immunity from surprise. They can help versus energy types like fire and ice and cold and stuff. Phobia we talked about. Restorative is into poison or disease. So they're really handy to have around. They give you a lot of resources. They also carry a lot. Porter, like the old first edition Rangers, could carry a lot. Well, not necessarily, but they were expected to carry everything they owned on them. So I added Porter, where they can carry, instead of double their strength mod, added to 10 slots. They carry double their con mod, added to 10 slots, whichever's higher. And this is a con-based class, so I'll probably make a pretty good con mod. And then Survivalist, all having to do with con saves, husbandry. It's one of the skills. We'll look at the skills in a minute. Might, nature, navigation, observation, and stealth. And then they can get cool things. Advantage on initiative, fleet where they can move faster, range where they can add climb and swim speeds, stout where they have more hit points, and tracking. So rangers in this game will often have a lot of hit points because they're getting the high con, and plus they could take stout. So it reminds me of the first edition of Rangers. We had the 2d8 at first level, and then fighters would catch up eventually. But that was always a big selling point to be a ranger in the AD&D. Wizards. All right, so came up with something for wizards I really like. They have reason, so they have advantage on initiative and intelligence saves and arcana skill. And then I want them to have a spell book and have it matter. I didn't want the way spell books work in D&D, where you just add and add and add, so you have every spell in the whole game in your spell book. I still wanted them to want spell books, but not have that. So what I did was your spell book, and also if you lost your spell book, you're in deep trouble. Now it doesn't matter so much in this. So your spell book contains notes on all your known spells. It's free, and you can replace it for free using a downtime activity to lose it. If you have it with you, it takes 2 inventory slots, so it's taking up a lot of room. And if you consult it before you cast a spell, you have advantage to cast a spell. So if you have your book out, cast a spell, you have advantage on that. And so that would mean you'd be casting spells every other round if you want to have advantage on every spell you cast. But it kind of builds in what ritual casting does. Then you have a studied spell. Whenever you spells, you have advantage to cast all the time. And you can change that with your spell book. Then random talents is you can add more studied spells, so you can have more than one eventually. You can learn additional wizard spells, so that's how you get more spells. Plus one is spell casting, choose any wizard talent. So there's wizards. And you'll note on their casting table here, they have like twice as many spells as priests and bards do, because they have 0 combat ability, no armor, no hit points, no weapons. All right, priest. Good armor. They can use any armor, so they can have a good defense. They don't have anywhere near the attack of a fighter, though. You're going to be relying on their spells for that kind of stuff. They choose a deity. They have devoted, which advantage of wisdom saves and charisma or religion. They know turn undead automatically. And I like how turn undead works. We'll get to that in the spellcasting. And you can see their spells. It's not half, but it's less. So instead of 6 and 4, it is 4 and 3. And their talents, they can get better using weapons, but it won't be anywhere near the rate the fighter gets better using weapons. And additional priest spells they can learn, etc. And then the bard, kind of a jack of all trades. So decent armor, good middle range hit points, a lot of good weapons, longsword included, and lots of languages they can pick from. They have really good skills with performance and history and influence. So I wanted them to do inspire. The way I did inspire was they can cast it to give a person a luck token, but they can also cast it for free when someone rolls a 20, a nat 20. And when they do it that way, they have an advantage. So just a natural way for a bard to inspire. Every party needs a bard, that's great. Plus, I use reaction rolls. As any good old school DM should. Where's the random encounters? Here we go, random encounters. So the reaction rolls, you get the highest charisma modifier. Oh, I don't have to say that at the highest charisma anymore. I don't have to say modifiers anymore, just say charisma. Among the PCs to the reaction rules. So having a high charisma PC is always helpful. They can also heal. We'll look at their spells. They're magic dabbler. They can use any magic item, almost any. They can use scrolls and wands. in their spells. And they can get better at attacking, not at the same rate as a fighter, and not even at the same rate as a priest, but they can get better. They can learn any class's random talent. So if they roll a 19 or 20 on their talent roll, or their random level in organized play, they could say, hey, I'm going to learn a priest spell, or I'm going to learn a wizard spell, or I'm going to learn a ranger's fleet, or a rogue's lucky, or hamstring, or trip, or a fighter's cleave. So they can do that also as a jack of all trades. So there's your bard. Okay. So you pick you roll your stats, you pick your class, then you pick your race. Just got the standard 6 here. You choose one talent with each race. Each race is going to get a speed and maybe one or more languages and a talent. Love that they can learn any class talent. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Okay, so we got dwarves, for example, hardy, advantage saves, and resist poison. Or they can be sturdy, gives them more hit points. One at first level, and then one every even level. Half elf can be a linguist, +1 standard and 1 rare language. A human can be ambitious, an extra talent roll at first level, or lucky or resilient, get advantage with a second stat save. So there's that. Okay, backgrounds. So you can just pick whatever you want for your skills and your languages and make what background you came from, or you can roll randomly. And you have your Middle Ages theme type of background. Say you're a surgeon. Was your role? You can know medicine or nature or religion. Or say noble was your role. You can be history or influence or standard language. And say you're a thespian. Agility, performance, or any language. And so here's the skill list over here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 17 right now. I'd love to bring that down a little bit, but what it has is every profession kind of covered, and every skill type thing covered. You have agility for the agility type stuff. You got might for the strength type stuff. You have navigation and observation, performance. So performance is also including being deceptive. There's putting in performance there. Religion, stealth. So gastronomy, baking, boiling, brewing, cooking, etc. Crafting is making anything. Building is building any structures. Should put even shipwork there too, probably. Artistry is artistry. Those are the main crafting ones. Artistry, building, crafting, gastronomy. Husbandry is anything to do with animal breeding, handling, or crop. Cultivation, riding, sustainability. So there's the skills. So you're making a character, you picked your class, right? And some of the classes had skills that came with them, like fighter had might. And then you come along, you roll your background, let's say you got craftsman. So you're a fighter with might already, you'll take crafting, or you take another language. And that makes your character, and that covers your skills. And you can add more skills later. We'll talk about that with downtime. All right, gear. So starting gear, there's rules for starting at level 0 here, which is some random items. That's always fun. But if you're starting at level 1 or higher, you have some starting gold, level 1 or higher. And if you're level 4 or higher, you have like some starting equipment, like a weapon or a wand. If you are leveling up an existing character, the existing PC, you can keep their existing golden gear. So by the time you get to level 4, if you played them all through levels 1 through 3, they'll have more than 250 gold. They'll have a +1 weapon or some other magic item that like. But if they have nothing and you're leveling them from 1 all the way up to 4 to play an adventure, then you drop whatever they have and we do it at level 4. So there's how you can gear up your character. Some default instructions for organized play for split and treasure, and this is how I do it in my game, so I showed it there. Gold evenly split, magic items divided when found. Some maximum golden gear, or this is for organized play or my home game, and whatever gets beyond that's discarded, and that just reflects attrition, maintenance, consumption, theft, taxes, etc. It's a way to balance an organized play setting. It's much easier to just balance the character level, not every single adventure they could have played. As long as the characters are set power level or less, they're going to be good to play. So you have max gold, max magic items, be your level +1. So at, say, 4th level, you could have 5 magic items, no more than half of that per minute, so 2 per minute. And they would all be at level 4 rare or less. 1 could be rare. That's the next one. Carrying capacity. I love the slot systems. So it's 10 plus double your strength if positive, or just 10 if the strength's not positive. Some classes gain more, like fighters and rangers can have a little bit more. And most gear takes up a slot. Typical clothing does not, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about 100 coins, some class gear, etc. You got your armor, you got your weapons, and the weapons are all D4 to D10. There's some D3s actually, I guess, and D2 for unarmed. And if it's a finesse weapon, you can use strength or dex for the attack. Change those to not the modifiers. Two-handed, must use 2 hands to use, +1 damage at positive strength. So there's some of the strength that must use do more damage. Also, versatile weapons, +1 damage if you wield one of those in 2 hands and you have a positive strength. Small creatures must wield them in 2 hands. Finesse weapon, loading, reach, throw using strength or dex. All right, venturing here. Character details, there's your languages. Spells. So spells are roll to retain. So you have your known spells, and you will automatically get them off 1 time, for sure, because you're going to roll d20 when you cast it. Well, not for sure. If you roll a 1, you might not get it off. If you roll equal to or higher than what it takes to retain it, you keep it and you can cast it again. So probably at least, 1.5 times what spells listed there. So many times you can cast spells, sometimes more, sometimes less. And that one at the spell mishap, we'll look at those. You want to cast spells and armor you're trained in wearing. There's their effect stuff, duration stuff. I mean, all durations, either focus and like 10 minutes, which is 1 combat, or 1 hour. Pretty easy to remember those 2 things. Try to make most things in combat save ends, so you don't have to remember, it's been 2 rounds or 3 rounds or 4 rounds. And let's look at a couple of highlight spells. Oh, the spell mishap table. So if you roll a natural 1, you roll d20, and the higher roll, the better. If you roll a 1, you roll twice and take 2. Roll a 2, you lose 1 random spell of the same spell level or lower permanently. It's permanent until you relearn it. You can learn lost spells during downtime. It's 1,000 gold per spell level. All the way up to Enlightened. The spell fails, but you don't lose it, and you get advantage on your next attempt to cast it. So, got all the standard cool spells in here. Let's look at the lists. Start with Wizard. So I went for like 20 spells at first level, and at higher levels, 8 spells at level 6. Looks like 12 spells at levels 3, 4, and 5, and 16 and 20, I believe. And then the priest has half of those numbers, and the bard has half of those numbers. And the bard mixes some spells from wizard and some spells from priest, plus they get any spell later, and then they have some specific spells of their own. So you look at Dishearten, a bard spell. So this one's special. There's a few spells that are special where you can cast them without taking an action some of the time, if you meet the requirements. So you have range 30 feet, creature you see, you mock your enemy's shortcomings, d8 psychic damage, charisma save for half. When you roll your spellcasting roll, if you get an 11 or higher, the level of the spell plus 10, you retain it. That roll also sets what the saving throw is. So your average roll is a 10, you have +3 to cast spells, it's going to be a 13 charisma save to have the damage. You can cast this one special. So this is a special thing for the spell. You can cast a spell without an action once per round when the target rolls a natural 1 on a significant attack check or save. And you have advantage when you do that. Why don't magic items per person? Oh, here we go. Good question, Val. why limit magic items per person? Instead, limit their existence in the game world, plus trust in party to distribute properly. Granted, it works better for ad hoc groups like you do on this stream. Why limit it per person? Because it's easier for game balance to limit it at the character than it is to limit it at every adventure, especially if you're letting people come in from other people's adventures. And how can you say that happened? Why do they magic items get limited? It's pretty simple. There's a lot of attrition that doesn't really get modeled in games, right? There's a lot of wear and tear on gear that doesn't get modeled in games. Magic items can be broken. You can be hit by a fireball. You can be hit by your sword can break, etc. So you can just use those reasons, reflect the attrition due to all those things, to say, why did I lose a few of the magic items I've found before? So that's why I do it, because it's much easier to balance at the character level than it is for every single adventure when you have multiple DMs potentially. And this system, you can play any adventure. This is a highlight of this system. So I started out balancing the monsters to be like Shadow Dark level balance, but then I quickly moved. I quickly moved to, well, not quickly, but when I was running the Giant adventures, I'm like, man, the Giants at Shadow Dark are too low level. I want to get them back to where they were. And pretty soon I'm like, okay, I'm using the BX levels, I'm using the Monster Manual 1 AD&D levels, the BECME levels. That's working really good. I have a table, which I'll share here. And I'm balancing everything too for the monsters. So I'm setting the monsters up to hit harder, not hit harder, have a higher attack roll, generally than all those systems by just a tiny bit. And the damage is comparable to those systems. Okay. Spells. So we looked at Dishearten. We have all the standbys like Fireball. It's a Fireball here. It's a Fireball. And it's 100 foot range, 15-foot burst. So I'm using this, diagonals are 5 feet. So circles are squares, basically. 15-foot burst is you pick a square or a target. That becomes the center. You don't pick the vertex like in D&D. Pick a square or a target, they're the center, and then 3 squares in every direction from them is a fireball. And 46 damage, dex save for half. And again, your spell roll, if you roll a 13 or higher, you retain the fireball and you can cast it again. And your spell roll sets the DC on that dex save. Now, let's look at like a whole person or a whole monster. So a whole person, 30-foot range, humanoid UC, save ends. So you don't have to track the duration. It's just going to end when the save ends it. Magic freezes the target's muscle control. They're paralyzed. So wisdom save. So it's the save that you rolled in the spellcasting check. They make the wisdom save to negate it. They're going to repeat that save at the end of every one of their turns, and it's set to be 15 plus the spell level. It's always 15 plus the spell level for a repeat save. Instead of being what you rolled over and over, because you could forget what you rolled. So I went with 15 plus spell level for all repeat saves. All right, so that's whole person. And see, magic missile. Of the people that have played, I've run a lot of Shadow Dark, and the people that bounced off that system the most are the spellcasters, because they're kind of weak. Magic missile's really weak. It's just one missile, D4 damage, I think, maybe D6. Might not even cast it the first time, right? Because you roll to even cast, not roll to retain. So I brought back old school magic missiles with multiple bolts. Shoot 1+1 per even level bolt. So at first level 1, second level 2, fourth level 3, sixth level 4, etc. Since hit points are lower, I'm not doing D4+1, I'm just doing D4. And that's no save. So there's the magic missile spell. Lots of ways to cure in this game. So you got priests can cure well. Bards can cure pretty well. They have a harmonic healing for bards. D4 plus D4 per even level. You got cure wounds for priests, which is D6 plus D6 per even level. And the bards have a thing called rally. Rally, here it is. So rally, level 4 bard spell. You shout a rallying cry. All targets heal, so it's a bard mass healing. And they also all gain a luck token. Let's look at luck token rolls. So there's spells. There's all the spells here for you. Again, check the Discord if you want to check out the game. You can join the alpha and play. So luck. Where did I even put luck? So it's in checks. Let's talk about checks. Philosophy on checks. If someone's good at doing something and there's no time pressure and there's no real consequence for failing, they will succeed. Just, they'll describe what they're doing. You just tell them it worked if they have time. So there's no time pressure, no significant consequence, no need to roll. If there's either of those things, then of course you need to roll, right? So you make a check. It's a d20 roll versus a DC. DC is over here, difficulty 9 to 18. That's like the Shabby Rock levels, which was informed by Hank Fernale. Ruin Hammer. He's got some really good design ideas. So I use added 3 to things from his ideas. So advantage and disadvantage. So I don't like, so advantage and disadvantage, they add 3 or subtract 3 from the roll. They don't stack just like D&D. They cancel each other just like D&D. So that's good. And then luck. So what I don't like about luck is how you might spend it and then re-roll, but then still fail. I want you to know it'd work or not work. I want you to know you're close enough. And if I just had some luck, I'd make it. And so you can spend it to add 3 to a roll. So if you fail by 3 and you have a luck token, you can choose to succeed instead, basically on any roll. It's 1 at a time, so you can't make it 6 or 9 or more. It's only your luck, so there's no table discussion from people in the other room about I'm going to give you my luck. It's just yours, and it happens fast. You know if a 3 would help you or not help you. And I shoot for 1 to 2 per hour over the course of a session, and there's some classes and races that can be lucky and get more than that. Okay, I'm listening to Runehammer podcast now. Yeah, it just misses. That's why I say. So if you're attacking, I'll say it just missed. And if you have luck, you'll say I'm using luck, I hit. Or you can also conversely say, oh, they just saved. And they say, oh, I'm using luck to make it harder for them to save on your spellcasting roll. All right, so that's how luck's working. That's how checks work. Straightforward. Let's get down to combat. Combat's kind of like used to with 5th edition. Everyone rolls initiative. Everyone has the dex mod. You set the order. You're done. You know what order you're going to go in. It goes super fast. Combat rounds are 6 seconds long. You can move your speed. You can move before, after, during your action. You take an action. You can forego that to move again. And one of your actions you can do is ready. So if you're trying to guard the line and keep everyone getting by you, you move into position, you're ready. Because there's no attacks opportunity. So if you wasted an attack during the turn, you don't have an attack to attack anyone who's running by you. But if you're ready, you definitely do. Or even if they just run up to you. So movement, you move your speed, you move through ally spaces, you move through enemy space with a roll. Some simple other things, crawling, standing up. Standing up just takes 5 feet of movement. Dropping prone's free. And then jumping. Jumping is always like, what are the jump rules again? I never know what the jump rules are. High jump, you can reach 10 feet. Long jump, you can clear 10 feet. If you want to go farther than that, you got to make a check. You have these checks. It's either agility or might, which are actually the characteristics in Draw Steel. So that'll be confusing for people going from Draw Steel. That's why I'm using agility and might. And then they're just simple numbers, and they just go up the standard scale. You want to reach 15 feet with a high jump, it's 18. You want to clear 30 feet with a long jump, it's 18. All right, so you have your attack. These are all your actions. Attack, cast spell, you can dodge. You can take on or put up on a shield. You can escape a grapple. You can grapple, improvise, ready, search, inspect, drink a potion. That can be part of multitasking, which we'll get to in just a second. But beating it to someone is an action. So multitasking. You can do simple tasks in your turn, such as change items in the hand, open an unlocked door, pick up an item, speak, activate a magic item, pop a potion. So one of those is free. That's the action economy. Attack rolls, real simple. You have your bonuses from your class to attack with, your strength to attack with, or your dex to attack with. And then if you flank a target, you have advantage. Target's prone, you have advantage. If you don't see them, you have disadvantage. And then ranged, if an enemy is adjacent to you, and you used a range attack on anyone, even that enemy adjacent to you, you have disadvantage. Target's cover you have disadvantage, target prone you have disadvantage unless you're adjacent, and target instant you have disadvantage. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, I really like the action. It makes combat, it's like blazingly fast. We got into combat, we were playing latest Source of Victory adventure, and the party's exploring. There's a lot of exploration in that adventure, and we got to combat, and it felt like the game sped up, not slowed down. It's like, oh wow, this is going fast. So it really goes fast, but it's still tactical. All right, so range attacks. Cover works like 5th edition, I know, 3rd edition, 4th edition, 5th edition, maybe not 5.5. They didn't really define it. 5.5. You turn and cover, you pick a corner of your square, you draw a line to every corner of the target, if they're medium or smaller, or you pick one of the squares of a bigger target. And if those are all unobstructed, no cover. If they go into anything, then cover. Could happen. Flanking is a thing in the game. And also, it never made sense to me that if two people are on opposite sides, they flanked, but another third person wasn't getting any benefit from the fact that that person was distracted. So as soon as someone's flanked by your allies, all allies get flank bonus for melee. There's no flank bonus for ranged. So it's a little easier to flank, maybe. You still have to be on opposite sides. Someone's got to be on opposite sides. Yeah, that's that. Downtime, love downtime in Shadow Dark. It's like they just did it so well. I went back and looked at 5th edition. There's downtime there. I just never touched it because there's bad things that happen in Shadow Dark. So I try to replicate the bad things. Maybe I've gone too far. I might need to reduce this a little bit, but you decide how much you're going to spend on if you want to carouse. Gamble time, yeah. If you want to carouse, you can spend 10 gold for a few drinks, 100 gold for a rousing party, 1,000 gold for epic nights or nights. You roll d20, and there's no modifier. You just roll d20. You want to roll high. You roll a 1, you're teleported, press gang, shunted to a far realm. You miss the next number of sessions depending on how much you spent. So if you spend 1,000, you're going to miss any because you just ransom your way back. But if you didn't spend 1,000, you're gone for a section. You bring out another character. And yeah, because you have to escape or bribe your way back or trek your way home. And you lose half of your equipment and wealth, chosen randomly. So bad things happen. The high end, you win basically 10 times what you paid at cards, dice, chess, whatever. You make many new friends. Your next session, you start with 1 extra luck token, regardless of how many you can have. And you have advantage on all charisma checks on the next session. And then lots of stuff in between. You can gain like free training. You can get a true rumor, some money off gear. And all this is kind of set up for you to make up the story of what happened. So, for example, you participate in a competition to honor the god of strength, or the god of wine, or the king, or the emperor, or whatever. The perhaps wins the heart of a beautiful or a handsome maid, son of the high priest, king, emperor. So you make up the story of what happened when you were browsing. That's one downtime activity you can do. And then there's the ones that are a little less risky. You can craft, make your own gear. You can research about a site or an adventure you're planning to go on, learn a new skill or language. You're going to craft there. You can add 3 of those in total, in addition to any you began play with from your class or your race. You can discard 1 to add a new one. So even if your starting skill was might from your class, you can say, I don't want that anymore. I'm going to discard that, get agility, and a couple others. That's 1,000 gold to do that. So you can spend 3,000 gold to get 3 new languages or 3 new skills, and you can keep changing them as you want. You just can't go more than 3 above. You can train one of your stats to increase in how low or high it was to start. That's just for the next session. So just, you're spending a lot of time in the gym getting that strength up before your next session. But then if you don't go back to the gym, it'll drop back down. You can work, you can rule, whatever lines and stuff you have. You might add studying spells or get back spells. I might even add, we can add 1 or 2 spells, like you can add skills or languages. So that'd be good. All right. Then let's look at the organization of this. Trying to organize it so And I need to move spells probably to the end of gameplay. That's probably where I'm going to put them. I'm just going to do that right now. See if it blows everything up. Spells are at the end of gameplay. So if you're a character that has no spells, you could get to level advancement and stop. So you could print out just pages, 35 pages, and you'd have everything you need to play. Then if you had spells, you can add spells, and then you'd get up to 53 pages. And then if you're going to be DMing, you want, of course, the adventure stuff and tracking time, the random encounters of monsters and treasures, and that's all out there. So with that organization, you get that. And let me just update the table of contents here. We'll look at this. So within the table of contents, oh, there's a quick reference sheet on the back of the title page for you. That's all the stuff we've kind of been talking about. It's kind of this quick reference sheet. I'm going to put that, it's not on there yet, but I'm going to put it in the back of the character sheets too. All right, so the table of contents, you have stats, class, race, background, gear, character details. Then you come to gameplay, checks, exploration, social interaction, combat, downtime, level advancement, spells, and then adventure creation there. There you go. Then monsters. So let me see if I can open up this spreadsheet. Any questions so far on anything? Let me know in the chat. I'm trying to open my monster spreadsheet without blowing stuff up. Same goes. All right, and now share that screen. There we go. Okay. So here is the master monster spreadsheet. And I'm going for all the monsters that, so you can run like the, Search the Unknown, Keep on the Borderlands, House of the Silver Princess, all the good old questions. Question for the end: any plans to run any d20play games in person at any cons this year? No plans yet. But that's definitely a possibility sometime soon. But no plans yet. So let's look at, if I just sort it by name, it should work. I think it'll work. Yeah, okay. So there's level 0 through 30. And the attack mod is basically the level of the monster up to level 10. And then it's 1 every 2 levels after that. So if you look at, gosh, it's a fire giant in, oh, I have the mod. We'll look at the monsters in a second. So, and then damage output. So I'm going for no more than 2 attacks. This is all if you only had 1 attack. So if you only had 1 attack, you're doing a D4 at level 0, D6, D8 at a certain level in d20play. What's the question? Oh, question. Now let's go back. We'll talk about the tactician and how it made him think about attacks in draw steel that don't miss. I wondered if you thought about making it where fighters auto hit. I could already do. There's a precision thing a fighter can have, where even if they miss, they do half damage. So fighters do have that option for precision. That's the level 5 talent that they could choose or roll. The thing about it is, it's kind of, what I found was it's kind of a trap. Because when we were playing the Giants, the fighter character hit so well, they would have been better off not having precision, which almost never came up. They'd be better off having cleave, which is another option. We do damage to 2 different creatures. So, yeah, it is kind of a trap choice right now. I mean, it looks good, right? Oh, I never miss. I was doing at least half damage. But you're always only doing one creature if you don't believe. You can get both, obviously. That's another thing you do. Okay, so damage output. 1d10, 2d6, 2d8, and then 3, 4, 5, 6. Just on up like that. And what this gives me is a good match to like what the Giants do for damage or any of the monsters in the First Edition Monster Manual. Here's the average damage column. This is the average damage per round done to creatures with these different armor class values. So I can see, versus armor class 20 creatures, what's a 10th level monster do? And then if I come over here and I undo the sort, let's see. I want to sort by level. There we go. Okay. So if I come down here to the first of the giant, which will be the hill giant level 8. Giant hill, yeah, there he is. So there's your hill giant. And I can look at, okay, what should a level 8 creature have on average? There should be +8 to hit. So the +8 to hit should 3d6 damage, 3d6 damage. And should have 38 hit points, 2 common modifier, giant's got 3. Armor class should be 15. So I generally go no more than 2 below or 2 above what the armor class should be at the level. And hill giant's where last no armor, so 13, yeah. That Dwarven Fighter in the Giant Adventures, fighters hit hard in Shadowrun or in these rules. d20play RPG. So there's that hill giant. Let's look at. So I have a full-on spreadsheet with these guys, populating it, trying to make sure everything matches up. If you wanted to see how it compared, I was looking at the different systems, sort that by name, and I have all different systems in here. I'll sort the name. There you go. Giant, here we go. Okay, so the fire giants. Look at the fire giants in the last section. So surprisingly, I was really surprised with this. Shadowdark giants, fire giants level 9. They have 44 hit points versus like the Shaman's Mail, they're 11 plus 3, so level 12 effectively, with 16 armor class, 53 hit points, and the Monster Mail, they're attacked at +11. And in Dracula, only attacking at +9. They're only doing 2d12 damage instead of 5d6, but d12 is a big number, and they get 3 attacks. So with 3 attacks, they're ending up averaging quite a lot more damage. Their damage per hit is almost, not too far behind. They're attacking 3 times versus 1 time. So I was surprised to find that the Shadowdark Giants, even though they're lower level, they're hitting really hard. I didn't like the idea of giants just whipping out 3 attacks. They should be big, lumbersome brutes, right? But I did want ways to do other cool things. So let's look how I did a fire giant before we did the giants. Change my screen. Okay. So it's coming down to giant and fire. Here we go. 16 feet tall. Bulky, muscle giant with deep red skin, flame-colored hair, wearing heavy plate armor. 1 attack, 1 action. They have a number of choices. Their default's their greatsword, +11, 46. It's actually 5d6 in the Monster Manual outfit, and even back to the BX event Monster Manuals. So I went to 46 just to keep it matching my table. They hit better. Well, no, it's the same hit. But then I added cleave, so they can do 2 creatures at the same time for 3d6 damage each. Or they can do boulder, or they can kick a creature, where they do 3d6 and push them 15 feet, or they can stomp on a creature, 3d6 plus knock and prone. So that was fun. Giants started cleaving and kicking and stomping. That was a lot of fun to play the Giant Adventures. And the Giant Adventures had a lot of treasure in them, so I was having to try and come up with versions of all the magic items. Let's look at designing encounters. So you'll see a lot of people talk about how 5th edition gets combat encounter designed completely wrong. Kind of, but no system can ever get it right because there is a huge variation in how potent a party of adventurers is. There's a huge variation in the skill of the players tactically, and there's a huge variation in the makeup of the party and what equipment they have. So any system is going to have to kind of tone it for like assuming a moderately skilled party and a balanced party, And then the GM should be expecting to raise it up from there. That's what I think. So attribute this largely, these ideas here for the percentages, the hit dice and stuff, to Sly Flourish. He's got a great system for doing this. This also comes back from the rules compendium. What is BX's rules thing? Let me see if I find that. So the BX rules, they have a table for like different challenge ratings. And, you know, basically it's like you take the hit dice of the monster or the level of the monster compared to the total levels of the party. And if it's 100%, well, that's obviously 50-50 chance everyone dies. And if it's 50%, that's a good challenge. And so I kind of went with that. Whereas level 1 through 3, total party levels times 0.5, you got a good deadly challenge. There's a chance someone might die. You can do double that, and there's a very good chance someone might die. Or you can do a little bit less than that, and then it's just threat. And I'd suggest, you know, spreading that difficulty bar 25, 25, 50 for your encounters, and ramping it up slightly as the characters get higher level, because they get, you know, just better equipment and better at helping each other and synergies in the party and such like that. So I put 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 5. And I just take that table and expand it here based on the number of PCs. You have to do the math yourself. So 5 PCs, level 1, 3 levels of monsters. 5 PCs, level 7, which is what we did the Hill Giants with, 21 levels of monsters. And the Hill Giant is 8. So 2 to 3 is a good challenging encounter. Of course, if you do 5 of them, it could be 50. It could be deadly. Thanks, Amit. Good to see you here. So the nice thing about doing this is if you just make the monsters powered by their level to be the equivalent to the level of the same character, you're good, and then it can be adjusted that way. The alternative way is you make monsters such that you can have one monster of a level per character, but then you got to make sure your monsters are powered down such that when it's, you know, 5 on 5, the monsters are the same level as the party, they're not going to have a 50-50 chance of killing the party. You have to pick some level. You might pick 50% of the power of a character or 75% of the power of a character, but you got to pick something. And that's kind of hidden away there if you've done that. Whereas if a system has the level of the monster should be the equivalent of a level of character one-on-one, then it's easier to know what's the math to ramp it up from there. So that's what I'm going for. Not all the way done yet. Solo monsters, I don't have solos and minions and all those different types of monsters, but if you're doing a solo, you could have them up to like twice the level of the party. Once they get more than double the level of the party, they're going to be really good at killing characters. So probably don't want to go beyond that. You also don't want to go much below that for a solo. It's hard to make a solo monster difficult. So what have I done to help with that? In the monster listings, some monsters I have as legendary, mythical, or renowned. And what this does, a monster of renown has +1 hit point per level. They have advantage on their initiative. Their weapons are considered magical, even if they're not. And they can end an effect on themselves by spending their level and hit points. So all those free hit points they got, they could spend them all. If you charm them, they could end the charm. So it's like a one-time get out of jail card for them. But unlike legendary resistance in D&D, it costs them hit points. You don't feel like you did nothing. You feel like you at least did some damage to them. I'm also toying around with maybe that instead of using it for ending an effect, they could use it as a luck token, but then they don't have it left for ending an effect. So that's renown, and then legend is 2 hit points per level, and they can do end an effect twice per day, and they're +6 in their initiative. And myth is +3 hit points, end an effect 3 times per day, +6 initiative, etc. So there's that. Swarms get more hit points. Instead of doing where they resist everything, like swarms do in D&D, they get extra 2 hit points. They don't have to track everything being halved. But they are vulnerable to area attacks. Actions. So most monsters get 1 or 2 actions. I try to stop at 2, really, to not really put too much of a burden on DMs and all the things they can do. Some take more than one of those 2 actions, or more than 1 action to use for the monster. Some would only be used every other round, like breath weapons. Some can only take effect 1 time per round. Look at those things. Or some can only be take effect if they hit one time around. They can keep doing it until they hit. So how does that all work? Let's look at the vampire. Vampire Lord, high end. All right. So here's the Vampire Lord stat block. He's got level 13 legendary, which means his hit points are going to be 26 higher than a normal level 13 creature. And twice per day you can end the effect that you have on him. It'll cost him 13 hit points to do that. So you'll see some benefit to that. He can take 2 actions. So his default action might be rending and biting. That does plus 12 to attack, 2d8 damage, plus blood drain once per round. So if he hit once, he can drain blood. If he hits a second time, it just does the damage, doesn't drain blood. Because if you have to drain blood over and over, it can get really fast. Because the drain blood, he heals hit points, and the target takes con damage. Now I'm thinking about maybe having a save to not take that con damage. We'll see. -5 con, the target becomes a vampire spawn. Now, so that's an example of once per round, something happening. Another example of once per round is his charm. So he's got 2 actions, but he can't charm twice. He can charm once and rend. He can rend twice, but only one of them can drain blood. He can shape change once per round, and then charm also once per round. Charm. Humility sees 15 charisma save negates, repeat 18 charisma save each day. So once you're charmed, that's not good. What the legend does, what you can shape change into, how he has to sleep in a coffin. So there's a vampire. Let's look at a dragon. So dragon, I messed around with dragon age categories and names. Finally came up with this thanks to help from friends online on the Discord. I finally got sorting at least the age categories that matter in alphabetical order. So when I sort stuff in alphabetical order, they appear in the right order. Fledgling. A hatchling doesn't really have the stats of a dragon. They're just like a big lizard. No breath weapon, no special attacks. They're just babies. But then a fledgling, they're starting to get dragon abilities, immature and old and venerable. And of course, they're steadily growing. So anywhere between mature and old, you can keep adding stuff to a mature dragon until he gets old, as far as hit dice and hit points and such. Beautiful art here by Dean Spencer. So blue dragon, so one of these guys. The fledgling, 24 hit points, immune to lightning, 2 actions. They can breathe. That takes both their actions, and they can only do it every other round. 10-foot blast, 2d6 lightning. So basically what I do is on the breath, it takes all of the damage output they can do, and it's in an area. So that's better than they should be getting as far as damage output. There's a save, so that can counteract that partially, but it also is counteracted by the fact that it is every other round. And then they can rend instead, twice, obviously, because it only takes 1 action. And 2d6 damage is the normal output for a level 4 creature, so they're doing the normal output. And it's whenever I have like 2 types of damage, it's doing both as far as resisting things. So if you're resistant to lightning, you're still taking all d6 because it's doing slashing as well. And they're renowned, so they can in an effect once per day for 4 hit points. Let's go up to a venerable blue dragon. 165 hit points, immune to lightning, armor class 22. 2 actions. Their breath is doing 10d6 lightning, 18 dex save for half, 40-foot blast. So a huge area. I didn't do lightning for blue dragons like a single line. Instead, I think it was lightning going out all directions, kind of this picture shows. So their breath, they can rend. They can do a tail sweep. So this is going to do 2 creatures instead of 1 for slightly less damage. And they can only do that once per round. So it only takes 1 action, but they can't do it twice a round. They can do a tail sweep and then rend, or they can do 2 rends, or they can do 1 breath weapon, and they have to wait around in between doing those. And they are mythical, so they have +6 to their initiative, and they get into effect 3 times per day. And I think I might use that as also they could spend that for the equivalent of a luck token. But it takes 22 hit points when they get in effect. I don't know if I'd have it do anything when they spend it as luck token, since that won't come up all that much. That's the idea. Okay, so there's dragons. And I got every monster in here so you can play the good old school adventures. Speaking of good old school adventures, I have that in the adventures. Okay, so all the classic OD&D, AD&D, Second edition, Shadow Dark, OSR, OSE. You can basically run them as is. You can run 5th edition stuff by you just like take the name of the monster and put these monsters in its place. In Search of the Unknown. So the adventure you can get, John Pintar's got great maps for that one. Dyson's got great alternative maps for that one. And you can go check and see how it played with the D20 Play RPG. We got that up on the Discord. I mean on the YouTube for D20 Play. We did Keep on the Borderlands. We did that before we did the new Keep on the Borderlands, the 5.5 Keep on the Borderlands. Which one I like better? If you guys played and you're here in the chat, if you played both, which did you like better as the adventure? Ignoring the rules, which was the better setup as an adventure? I'll hold my comments until I see some comments from the chat. Anyone can vote, even if they didn't play with me. I'm working on G1 through 3, and John Pindar's got great maps for that one as well. Now, one thing I do recommend is these old adventures, they often are set up to like 9 heroes, and they're just swarming with monsters that can't even fit in the dungeon. So I recommend cutting the combatants and treasure in half in most of these. That's what I've been doing. It's working great. It's still highly challenging, even at that. I got my adventure I did Tomb on the Borderland. That you can get on DriveThru RPG. And that's it for first level. I don't have the link for the maps here, but it's also, I think it's linked in the adventure itself. I did that with, there's a heroic maps version of it and a Knights of Logos version of the map for that. So yeah, those are adventures. It's funny, I was looking at the character creation and how, okay, that's cool. You just got these steps to make your character go super fast. Why don't dungeons do the same thing? Why isn't there like a step-by-step way to do adventures? And so I started working on that. And then I found that, and I'd completely forgotten, that they did that back in BX D&D. There was a step-by-step, here's how you do an adventure. So I'm working on that a little bit with some random tables that you can create an adventure if you want. You know, so of course, pick those pre-gen adventures or create your own. So these tables are kind of in work and not all put together yet, but lots of cool names and ideas. Rumors, I love rumors. I love how Source of Victor does rumors where you know if it's reliable or unreliable. And the reliable ones are more often true, but not always. And the unreliable ones are more often false, but not always. So I love doing that. I like giving the players some idea. So Cade did not play the original, just the new starter set. And I tweaked the starter set a lot. I like the new starter set. Had a lot of stuff in it that you can use, but it didn't piece it all together really well in the adventures. That was kind of a shortfall. So look at how to DM that. It was a lot of fun the way it turned out. The adventure's got all the materials you need in it. I think you just need to throw out some stuff that was dumb, that was kind of insulting to the players, intelligence. Keep the stuff that's good, and there's plenty of good stuff, and put it together in a way that makes sense. Back in time, random encounters. So I love random encounters, and not just being automatically hostile, although half of them are, depending on your charisma. Got monsters there, treasures, and how to design treasure for an adventure. So when I make an adventure, level 0 through 3, 10 gold per hour per PC on average. Level 4 through 6, 100, 7 through 9, 1,000, 10 plus 10,000. And match gems, 1 consumable per 4 hours per PC. So most of my adventures are going in like in 4-hour slot. So if I had 5 players, I'd have 5 consumables and 2 or 3 permanents. And then I'd get that rate about right. And hopefully the rate is such that they're having to either use or discard items now and then. So they're getting to their maximum. They're never, short of match items. And that's also how trading can happen, because if you have too many, you can then discard it, but it's when the party can take it. All right, abbreviations, character sheets, adventures, conversions, player and GM tips, and table conventions. So let's just look at a character sheet. Let me pull that up. So you get your blank character sheet, click that. It's going to go over to here, so I'm going to show that instead. Looking for, there it is. So here's the character sheet in full. And the idea is you can fold it in half at that line, or you can not. You can just use it full size. And on the reverse side of it, I don't have it yet, but I want to put it on the quick reference notes. So let's make up a character real fast. So here's your character. You're going to roll. Can I roll in chat? I don't think I can roll in chat. You roll 60-20. I'll just do the people. Name is played by Tom. So you're going to roll, and there's no like weighing on the roll. You just are going to have random -3 to +3 bell curve on that. So you should be around 0 most of the time, but not always. And you can, if you don't like any of your rolls, take the default rolls. And so pull up this side here. So I roll a 19 and a 12, so that's +2 and +0. So I've already got a character I can keep. I won't get to make any more rolls. I either have to take this roll, or I have to take the regen. And I rolled a 3 and a 10, so that's -2 con, and 10 and 0, 0. And then I roll a 10 and a 4, so this is bad. So it's 0 and 4 is -1. So this is actually a little bit worse than the pre-gen. Pre-gen would have a +1 somewhere here. So I might as well instead take the pre-gen. I'll make him a fighter. So I'll make that +1. Or I mean the default array. And these are all both zeros. So there's my stats done. And as a fighter, I can share both of these. There's no way, I don't think. That's not chart 60-20, that's right. Okay, I'm going to share that. Don't think I can. Well, anyway, after you do the stats, you can pick your class. I'm going to go with fighter, obviously. So I'll do fighter. Actually, I know what I can do. Put that over there, there. Share the screen instead of sharing this. And screen, there it is. That is layout here. Perfect. How's that look? I got them both. Okay, so looking at character details here, and shrink this guy down so I can see my sheet. I rolled my stats. I picked my class. I can, pick any class I want, but it's good to have at least +1. So fighter or thief would be best for this class. I roll my hit points, and I don't have it here. Yeah, do minimum level 1. So yeah, D8 roll for hit points. 8. And roll an 8. Trust me, I'm not making that up. So his con of -2. Negative con doesn't affect that, so he's going to be hit points at level 1. I can add 1 to my stat, or I can roll a class talent. So if I come over to class, and I come over to fighter, I'm going to roll the class talent. So I'm going to roll d20, and I roll a 7, which is +1 to the stat. Best stat to raise as a fighter would be obviously strength. Raise strength, and then I get character creation. Then I'll roll for my race. And I'm going to get 12, which is human. That'll go there. And level 1, 0 XP. Allow me to make, I'll roll for that randomly. As a human, I could take ambitious or lucky or resilient. So what should I take? Ambitious, lucky, or resilient? I'll do ambitious. So I'll roll 2 talents. And I can put that right here just for reference. There we go. Choose one racial talent. If your racial talent is ambitious, add 1 to a stat. So I could add 1 more to my strength. Or I could roll on the table again. Just add 1 more to strength. So maybe +4 strength at level 1 as a fighter. And then I'm going to roll my background. I'm going to roll 11. So he was an herbalist. And I could have husbandry or medicine or nature. I'll take medicine. So now, and then talents. As a fighter, my talents are grit and hauler and weapon master. So I'm going to go here with that and paste plane. And there. So I know that when I'm making checks for, and have a lot of room for this, but I'm going to have advantage on strength saves and might checks and medicine checks. Medicine's intelligence. So that's going to give me a +3 when I'm rolling these ability scores for those checks. And then my weapon master, let's have my attack with a longsword. What are all my bonuses to attack? Nothing for level, +4 for strength. Then for my talents, +1 to a fighter. So I'm +5 on my attack roll. The damage modifiers are D8 plus nothing for strength. The only thing I'm getting is because I'm a fighter +1. Now, if I were to wield that two-handed, I could do D8 +2 because I have a positive strength. But I'll go for chain and shield. And at starting gold, don't think I can afford that. So let's go back to preparation. I have my background, I kind of skipped ahead. Looking at gear, leather, shield, longsword, javelin ×2, and an explorer's kit. Perfect. So I'm going to do that. And since my armor is leather, it's 11 plus shield is 13 plus dex 14. There's my armor class. Speed's 30 feet because I'm human. Alignment. I can go to character details and pick that. Finish get my gear here. So in the gear, I have a strength of +4. So that's 18 slots. My con doesn't help because it's 10 plus double my 4. So 10 up to 18. And then clothes and packs are automatic. And then my leather and my shield and my sword. I already have pre-populated here the explorer's kit, all that components. And then I can get rid of the X's for all like 2 slots because now I get all this stuff with that great strength. And I have a javelin and a javelin. And javelins are D4 damage. And I think 50-foot range. And since they're strength, I have to use my +5 still. And D4 +1 because I'm a fighter. And I can also attack unarmed. And I can even throw stuff, like pick up rocks and throw them up to 15 feet. And that's going to use my strength as well. And so with that, D2 +1 for that. So there's my 3 different attacks I can make. And my strength's +4, so huge strength. I got might, so I'm +7 on the might check. I have medicine. Languages. As a human, I think I might get 1 extra language. Common +1 standard language. So character details are here. Standard languages, I'll take giant. Rare languages are aberrant, abyssal, celestial, etc. Alignment, I'm going to randomly pick this, will be 2012, so it's lawful neutral. And then deity, you can pick the deity that goes with that, or not have a deity at all, or randomly roll if you think you might like have conflicting deities. So I'll take Sumeolus, roll a 2, who is lawful good, but is married to the lawful neutral goddess Trisperia, so that works out fine. And there's my character. All done, ready to play. That's 14, 8 hit points, attack at +5. Let's look at death and dying. So I like a lot of the interesting death and dying mechanics that are, in play in different systems now. What do you guys think is the best? Put it in chat what you think is the best. I'm doing kind of a variant right now, the 5th edition one. And that'd be in combat under damage and die. The difference being that you can regain consciousness easier. So when you're first reduced to 0, you become unconscious and you're unstable, just like D&D. Then you get to make a death save, and it's a con save. Unlike D&D, it's not a straight d20 roll, so you get to add or subtract your con. And if you're a ranger, you're going to be good at it. And if you get a natural 20, just like D&D, you're healed to 1 hit point, and therefore you're conscious and stable again. If you get 15 or higher, you're conscious. So your unconsciousness ends, and it's a successful death save. If you get a 5 or lower, like on your next death save, you become unconscious again. So you can kind of go back and forth as you're trying to save yourself from this condition. And if you get to negative your hit points, you die with 1 attack, or negative 10, whichever is a lower number, is instant death. Kind of just like D&D, except the negative 10 part. Additional damage is the same as D&D. There is no raised dead yet. I don't know if I had one or not. And level 0 characters are special in that they only get 1 failed death save. So they're going to die easier, a lot faster. Morale is important. You don't want monsters to fight to the end. They should be checking morale. So that's all in there. So that's it. That's the system. What am I working on next? I'll make sure I got the monsters for all the adventures, such that when I share this, people have them all. And of course, working on adding cool things to the monsters, like I did for the giants, and for the vampires, adding in all the rest of the devils and demons. I did not know this, but in BECME and DX, they had no devils and demons. I did not remember that. It was not until the Monster Manual came out that was added. There were no D&D in Eldritch Wizardry, I think, but not in BECME and BX. So yeah, here's a Horned Devil. 2 actions. He can pitchfork, doing good damage. Fire Blast. He can do Barb Table, which will wound once per round. 1 con damage, 15 con save ends. So here's one where I'm doing con damage and giving a con save not to take con damage, which I might do to the other things that do damage. Kate, you had a character lost to the succubus. I was doing the succubus straight from, I think it was Shutterguard. This is the one I'm working on here. 28 hit points, level 6, 2 actions. She can scratch and kiss you. +6 to hit, D6 slashing and necrotic damage. Plus kiss once per round. 1 wisdom damage. You took 3 wisdom damage when you were hit. Which ended up being, well, you took -3, yeah, because it can do D6 wisdom damage. So if you roll a 5 or 6, that's going to make it -3, and that was going to take you to -5. And -5, and the different thing I'm doing here is at -5, the target's soul is transported to the abyss. So there's the succubus. Charming also. You see 12 Christmas save negates, repeat once per day. I really like this monster format too. I came up with it. Makes it easy to read. So I think that's it for today, guys. I'm going to turn in. Who watched the trailer for Dune? That was awesome. And I just watched Project Hail Mary. Really good. Guys and girls in the theater were all crying. So, and laughing. It was like equal parts laughing, equal parts crying. Amazing. My wife loved it. Really loved it. I cannot wait to watch Dune. Dune has been so good. I watched the original Dune. I think it was the original. In the theater too. Blank on the name of the director, famous director. David Lynch. Yeah. This one's much different, but I like it much more. And then what else have I got coming up? So I just played Search to Victory's Adventure, and that was awesome. Played it twice. Really difficult. It's, a homage to Tomb of Horrors, so maybe too difficult for some players liking. I can definitely don't fault anyone for not liking that style of adventure. His homages have been really good. Lost Coverage of Soch Camp one was good, and especially the one or the Hidden Trinity Tomo-chan, which was Hidden Trinity, something Jaguar, Jaguar Princess or something. Kind of blank on that. That's really good. Yeah. So we did that, and then I'm playing Draw Steel coming up on this weekend on Saturday. Been playing a lot of Draw Steel, but got it playing this D20 play again was so much fun. The next one after that Draw Steel one, definitely another D20 play. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Come check out the Discord. The link's in the description. We'd love to have you in the Discord. A lot of great people there. I'll see y'all later.